Hello, YouTube, and welcome to today's special video about how to build warriors in Ranked Joust and Smite Season 11. A very special one for you guys today. I'm sure a lot of you guys are very excited to see all the different builds we've assembled here. The main thing, what we're going to do is we're going to provide you with a skeleton on how to build all these warriors here. We're going to group them into as many classes as we need. Like, we're going to have a mystical warrior build, Thebes warrior build, and other warrior builds. We'll get there when we get there. It's going to be a good one. So, yeah. Let's start off with probably the most popular warrior build right now we've got going around, which is the auto attack warrior build. And poster child we got for this one is Erlang Shen. I've got all the items up on screen. In the past, when I did this video, I pieced it together item by item, putting them all up slowly but surely. But in light of recent events, I'm thinking I'm going to try and make this a quicker video. Not like too quick, but just a little bit more expedited here. So the starting build for an auto attack warrior, and this is going to be consistent among most warriors. You can honestly do this kind of start on probably any warrior, honestly, and feel pretty good about it. It's going to be your warrior's axe, your round shield that you're going to end up building into berserker shield down here, and then you're going to need some potions. Pretty simple. Can do it on, like I said, basically any warrior. It's going to provide you a lot of fighting potential with the warrior's axe procs. In addition to really good sustain from that axe, gives you procs, gives you power. It's just an amazing physical tank frontline item to get for Joust. It's just a constant team fight. And then Round Shield is an incredible T1 to pick up. Take a look at the stats on this guy. It's got 10 Fizz Prot, which is going to help you against the minions. It's going to help you against buffs. And it's going to help you against physical characters, obviously, towers, whatnot. And underlooked stat, 10 HP 5. A lot of the time, there's a lot of trading going on in the lane, and of course you're taking damage from just AI. So that HP5 is going to come in handy, and alongside your potions that you're going to build. Depending on the character, you're going to swap around how many health potions you purchase versus multi potions. You're aiming to buy like 3 health potions to 1 multi, but some characters that have more severe mana issues, like say Guan Yu. If you're playing Guan Yu, you'd probably want to get a little bit more multi-pots and health pots, but you've got 4 potions that you can buy. Ideally, you can get 3 health and 1 multi. But like I said, like for Guan Yu, you'd probably adjust that and get like 2 and 2. Erlang Shen, you can afford to get 3 and 1. Like Osiris, you'd go 3 and 1. Amaterasu, since she's got a lot of these characters that have like natural heals, like Ama and Guan, you can get away with 2 and 2. Because you can use some of your mana from the multi-pot to heal yourself a little bit. But yeah, it's just mainly prioritizing sustain and fight in the lane for your starting items. And then later on for these auto attack warriors, since you're an auto attacker, the shield that you're going to want to finish, you have a choice between Void Shield, Berserkers, Phalanx, Glad. You're going an auto attacker route, so you want to go an attack speed one. Constant argument between Phalanx and Berserker Shield. I've always been a Berserker Shield guy because Berserker Shield gives 25% attack speed up front versus Phalanx, which at maximum will give you 30% attack speed when you get every single stack online. And that's going to take a minimum 3 seconds. So like when you're just clearing camps alone, no enemies are hitting you, you've got 0% extra attack speed from that Phalanx. It really comes into effect in an actual team fight when other people are, whacking you a lot. Then you're getting a lot of protections and a lot of attack speed, and it can be very valuable. But I like to play the Joust game very objectively and grab as much farm as possible, minimize the fighting and only taking like really all-in skirmishes or poke fights where Phalanx can fall off a bit in terms of value. Also, Phalanx got nerfed literally today, so Berserker Shield to me feels a lot more valuable, getting a lot more attack speed out of that and getting a lot of attack speed up front. So yeah, that's my preferred item, but you can swap between either one depending on your preference. Then after you get that Berserker Shield, this is an Erlang specific one. You're going to want to get a damage item For Erlang, like I said, that would be Runeforged hammer, so your build would be looking something like this on Erlang. On literally any other auto attack warrior, you can go Executioner. You could even do it on Erlang if you want, because the other auto attack warriors just aren't going to utilize Runeforged in the same way as well as Erlang. Erlang is the only auto attack warrior that actually uses this item, I would say. This as well, or well enough to put it second item here, because it's just like such a massive team damage boost. And other warriors like Amaterasu, like Osiris, like Gilgamesh, if you want to go an auto attack route with him. Executioner is just going to be better for that same reason. It's just like a team boost, helps kill objectives. But like I said, Erlang is going to do Runeforged, get a little bit of sustain. And like just, it's the same like type of item, like the same reason you're buying them is to deal extra damage in the team fights and like help other physical damage dealers do that and help yourself, obviously. So Runeforged if you can, Executioner if not. So basically Runeforged if you're Erlang, Executioner if you're not. And then after that, you can grab Shogun's Kasari for even more attack speed, but you can mix and match your build. Like this build right there, the Warrior's Axe and the Berserkers are the core. Everything you do after that is up to you based on your team comp, the enemy team comp, and like the characters in the game. So if I'm against like Double Fizz, maybe I'm not like rushing Double Fizz and a Guardian, maybe I'm not like rushing super hard to get like my Shogun's Kasari online. Maybe I go like Executioner into like one of these items down here, like a Mantle, or I get like a Mid-Guardian Mail here if I'm against Double Fizz and a Guardian, which is a very popular composition right now. So, yeah, it's up to you. But here are the items that you're going to build, and you can mix and match them however you want. Ideally, or most games, I would say, you're probably going to build something like this. Or something like this. You need to have the chin size is the main one. You only really need the Executioner in the build if they have a lot of healing / shielding, because then Envenomed Executioner becomes a lot more impactful. But a general auto attacker build is just going to include a mix of these items here, and it's up to you which one you go. Runeforged, of course, Erlang only. Shogun's just super nice team buff. Executioner, like I said, only really need it if you really want to shred for other physicals on your team / want to kill objectives faster, or they've got like really tanky targets that you're trying to shred. Though chin size will be just fine on its own if you want to do that. Mantle Discord, obviously, and Spirit Robe, you're probably never building them together, but you're going to choose one of them to be, just a little bit tankier. And Mid-Guardian to slow down those auto attackers. Some honorable mentions that aren't in here, like Spectral if they go crit. You could go Breastplate for some extra cooldown if they go crit. Best of Vigilance is very nice. But aside from that, it's pretty much the build. And like I said, just mix and match as you see fit. Relic-wise, these auto attackers, if you're going to focus on auto attacks, you're typically almost always going to want Purification Beads, because you just want to be able to get your auto attacks off without getting interrupted. On Erlang specifically, Blink is really important, though a lot of the auto attack warriors don't really need Blink as bad, like Amma, Osiris, Gilgamesh. They don't need it too bad, so you can focus on grabbing like Horrific. You can get Sprint. You can get Sunder here if you want to deal like burst damage and burst down tanks. You've got Thorns if you're really feeling it. Extra mitigation. It can kill a carry a little bit easier. And yeah, that's about it, I would say. I guess Bracer is an honorable mention too. You get a little bit of movement speed for your entire team, but you're probably just going to stick around the beads, Blink, Horrific, Sprint for the most part. And then if they're really, really tanky, then dip into the Sunder. But yeah, the Thorns and the Bracer are kind of just like, if you're feeling it, type of relics. It's mainly these 5 that you're looking at rolling out the base with. So yeah, that's going to do it for the all auto attack warriors. Let's move on now to our next guy, the classic Thebeser. Thebes is a very powerful item that is still very relevant in today's game. We've got Achilles here as our poster child for the Thebes build. So it's going to be slightly different from the Glad Shield start, because you're going Gauntlet of Thebes, of course. And then once again, you get to choose whether you want 3 health pots and 1 multi, or 2 health pots and 2 multi. If you're someone like Chulainn, you could even go 4 health pots and no multi. But for Achilles here, I'm looking at 3 health pots, 1 multi, rushing the Thebes. So just, first item, you're just getting the Thebes as soon as possible. And then Achilles specifically, the thing that Thebes allows you to do is it gives prots of both Fizz and Magical, so it's very efficient in the stats that you're building, which affords you to build a little bit more damage. And specifically on a character like Achilles, or just honestly any character that you're looking to really condense your stats into a very cheap item like Gauntlet of Thebes, you're looking to get some damage in there, is what you're doing that for. Because you get Thebes versus you get like Void Shield and Talisman, for example, like physical and magical defense. You've like kind of mixed it into one, right? So now you've got a little bit extra room in your build. And then for a character like Achilles, who really wants to like move fast and get in and out of fights, and is very sustain heavy, Jotun's Vigor is going to give him a nice cooldown spike, good bit of mana that Thebes doesn't give, and a good bit of power with some pen. So that feels real good. This combo is very, very nice. This Thebes into Jotun's Vigor combo for Achilles. Not every Thebes character needs to do this, but on Achilles especially, it feels nice. And then after that, you can kind of mix and match with the rest of the items I put in here. However you want to round out your build. Usually you want to put Glad Shield in there because Achilles is so good with those proc items. Those items that hit based off prots, the Sunrain Axe, the Glad Shield. Oh, that is something I forgot to mention in the auto attack warrior build, is you'd finish your warrior's axe into Axe of Animosity. That's pretty bad. I didn't say that. But hopefully that was a little obvious. Anyway, so back to this build. We got Glad Shield here to finish your cooldown. And then you got a choice between like Spirit Robe, Mantle. These are very, very strong items. If you need anti-heal, you could slap in a Pestilence earlier than this if you want to, if you really need it. And then you got all kinds of items to choose from to finish up. Talismans here if you didn't really need Pestilence and you just want to move faster, because movement on Achilles is very nice. You've got Chin Size if like you really just can't get to their backliner and you just need to kill the front line. You got Void Shield if you have a physical oriented team. You've got anti-ADC items. You got Mystical if you need a little bit more damage. If you didn't want to go Jotun's Vigor, you could honestly do something like this. But the core is just the Thebes. Everything you do after that point is up to you. Here are just a nice slew of items to choose from. You got the anti-slows if they've got, like, you know, you're playing against a Kukulkan X-Ball backline. Winged Blade is probably an item you're going to want. I think I've touched on everything here. And then you've got, like, your obvious, like, anti-crit, spectral. You could go, like, Flameforged Hammer on Achilles if you really want to do a little bit of extra damage and help your team deal more damage. But, honestly, if you want to deal more damage for your team, I would highly recommend building a Sundering Spear here. Blink and Sunder are very, very strong Achilles relics. But he follows in the same vein as the auto attack warriors, kind of, in that you can also go like Thorns, you can go Sprint, you can go Bracer. And less priority, Beads is an option. It's more so useful if you're against, say, 1 second. Sorry about that. More so if you're against like a really heavy lockdown comp that's trying to kill you. So, let's say for whatever reason they picked like Ares with Horus. Very good lockdown for a frontliner. They like, you know, Horus to you. You get Runeforged procced on. They sunder you. You start getting chained down. You're ulting out or you're dying, right? If you have beads, maybe you don't need to ult out. And you don't die. And maybe you can turn it on them. So, I'd try to avoid building beads on Achilles unless you like really, really need it. Otherwise, you're just like looking to execute frontliners, right? And so Sunder, Blink, Sprint, Horrific, Thorns, all really good choices. Yep. And that's the Ability Warrior, or the Thebes Warrior. Next up, we got, in the same vein of the Ability Warrior, Colin as our poster child here for the Mystical build. It's going to start out very similar to the Erlang build, or the Auto Attack Warrior build that I showed just a few minutes ago. But it's going to focus on ability damage, of course. So instead of finishing Berserker Shield, we got that same start, right? Or you've got the Axe, the Round Shield, the Potions, just for maximum sustain, maximum fight potential, ability to trade a lot of hits when you're in the lane. And Kukulkan specifically, you could even go for health pots, build like this, because he doesn't really make use of the mana, right? On the multi-pot. But most characters that are going to go this build, probably either going to go the 3-1 health to multi-split, or the 2-2 health to multi-split. And every single one of these characters, you're going to want to at some point grab that Chalice of Healing for maximum sustained potential. Just like, you're not going to like super prioritize it, but you're just going to grab it whenever it is convenient. I find on the first back you get it before red buff, about 1 minute 30 seconds into the game, you have like 800 or so gold. You have just enough to get a T2 item and a chalice. That's kind of when I aim to grab my chalice, but it's not always feasible. Like, I'd still prioritize my T2 item over a chalice at that point, probably. So like, just whenever you have the 300 gold is when you invest into that. But moving on, we do have the rest of this build. It's going to look like Glad Shield first, and then you're going to get either Talisman or Pestilence. Talisman, obviously, is going to be the priority for that overall team-wide buff that you can give. Really good item when your whole team is grouped together a lot, like in like game modes like Arena or Assault. You see stuff like Talisman, stuff like Bracer, stuff like War Flag be really prominent because they provide such powerful team-wide buffs that are very effective because your team is always together and there are a lot of people together. Talisman does the same thing in Joust, but only 3 people instead of 5 on each team. Of course, if they have really heavy healing, like you're against an Aphrodite or a Hel or an E-Shell or, Baron Zombie, something like that, then you can grab a Pestilence instead of that Talisman. But otherwise, you'll just go Talisman always. And then at this point, then you get the Mystical. The reason you don't get the Mystical really early on in the Mystical build is because if you rush Mystical first, you got like a 0 sustain build going here, and it feels awful. So you get poked out even a little bit, and you are hurting. You got your potions and you got your Warrior's Axe, which are decent sustain, but it's really just nothing compared to this HP5 from the Glad Shield, and you get like decent damage as well from the Glad, so it's just like, you really should just go Glad. So you get your Fizz D, your Magic D, and then your Mystical. If they've got a physical focus comp, like we talked about a little bit earlier in the Auto Attack Warrior build with how you can skip Magic D and go double Fizz D, if they're running that very meta Guardian Warrior Hunter comp, you could very easily skip out on the Talisman of Energy for a bit and just go Glad Shield straight into Mystical. Have double Fizz D and be very tanky, while also dealing immeasurable amounts of yellow damage. And then you could throw that Talisman / Pestilence later on in the build, either right after that, or you could grab Pridwen for some cooldown and then that. But it's kind of just like mixing and matching the items listed here, just like all the other builds, just based on what you're against and who you're playing. And it really is just all up to you on how you want to go about piecing together your build. I've just kind of got like the exoskeleton for you here on a whole number of items that you can throw on there, and you get to kind of pick and choose which ones you like the most, and yep, just go from there. But you're eventually going to probably want to end up with this selection of items. Once again, you grab your Chalice at some point in this build, and then you kind of wrap up. You got an extra slot here for whatever you want. If you want just more survivability, Mantle is what your go-to. Maxed out your CDR, just super nice. Spirit Robe can go interchangeably there. You've got Titan's Bane if you just want a straight up power item. Another couple items you could swap in are like Dawnbringer or Erendite if you're really looking to chase down a backliner. Those can be very good, solid, damagey items. You got Spectral Armor for anti-crit, anti-ADC mid-guardian. You got like a little bit of extra punch if you're taking a lot of poke, but then like you finally get that blink onto the backliner. Arc Druid can be very useful. Winged Blade if you're going against a whole ton of slows. There are a lot of different items that you can utilize here. There is one that I didn't put on here. Oh god, what did I miss? You got Erosion. If is an honorable mention for if you're against like a Charon, it can be very useful, and you're not building anti-shield like you would if you're playing like an auto attack warrior with Envenomed Executioner. You've got a Breastplate of Vigilance or Determination are both useful. I would never build that on Chulainn. I'd honestly much prefer to go Glorious Pridwen, just because Pridwen is just more damage versus Breastplate, which is just more mana. But if you're playing a character like Horus or Nike and you want to go a build like this, those characters don't use Pridwen at all. Like, you don't get a shield. So you could go Breastplate on them if you're going to go a build like this. But other than that, I think that's all we have to say for these characters. Yeah, pretty happy where we're at. You could throw in a chin size if you wanted to, if you're having a lot of trouble killing tanks. But I think if you're going to build like this, that Titan's Bane will be a little bit more useful. Oh, I remember the item that I was thinking of. It's a Void Shield. Really strong item right now. So especially if you have like a double Fizz Guardian comp, like you're running the Warrior Hunter Guardian comp, and your Guardian doesn't plan on going Void Shield, which he should, by the way. Your Guardian should be building the Void Shield. But if he's not, for whatever reason, Void Shield is another item that you could throw on in this build. All right, and that should do it for the Mysticalers. We've done Auto Attack now, we've done Thebes, and we've done Mystical. So, what's the big categories left? I did a mobility-based warrior build as well for you guys. So, we've gone through all the warrior builds that are just kind of like mainstream. Like we've got the auto attacker builds, which is your Amma, that's your Bellona, that's your Erlang Shen, that's your sometimes Gilgamesh, that's your Osiris sometimes, that's your Vamana. We've done your Thebes warriors, which are your Achilles, and you can do the Thebes one on whichever one, but it's probably the most prominent on like Achilles, Chaac, Mulan. Gilgamesh could do it. Guan could do it. Odin would do that. Nike could do it. Sheva could do it pretty well. King Arthur could do it. Horus could do it. Those are your main ones. And then now we've got your mystical warriors. Oh yeah, I forgot that. Yeah, the mystical, we got Chulainn does that. Chaac can do it. Achilles can do it. Gilga can do it. Guan can do it very well. Herc could do it if he wanted to. I don't know if you would want to. Mulan could. Nike, pretty solid. Odin's a solid mystical. Osiris can do the mystical. Sheva, you probably wouldn't do it, but you could. And yeah, that would be doing for the mysticals. And then now we've got some kind of like special builds for special characters like Hercules and Tyr. These are the characters that are kind of going to do breastplate of regrowth, movement speed, mobility, abuse type of build style. So this build is going to be a little bit deviated from that glad shield start we've seen from the other classes, or the other not classes, the other, you know, characters from the class. And you're going to opt to focus pretty much exclusively on being faster than your opponent. Yeah, you could do this on Guan too, but I find Guan fits better among either the mystical build path or the Thebes build path. Up to you. I really like mystical Guan though, so that's the one I'd probably do if I were to choose any of these builds. But you could do this, like that's a nice thing about these warriors. A lot of them are very flexible and could land into multiple categories on the build paths that I'm whipping out here for you guys. And it really is up to you. Very flexible, very game dependent, team comp dependent. It is all in your boat. What you want to do here. So, but as we were saying, Hercules with the regrowth build here. Hercules, Tyr, and I guess Guan can all use this build pretty effectively. Horus could do this as well, I suppose. This is, like I said, going to focus on outmaneuvering your opponents. You're just kind of like displacing them, putting them in good spots for your team to follow up. So really nice for like particularly a mage to follow up off of, like a Scylla or your Kukulkan types that are like really looking for setup. They can do kind of like a nausea thing where they like hold people in place / push them around into very designated locations, sometimes grouping them up, allowing you to land really big burst abilities. So what this build is going to look like is axe breastplate and a lot of pots. And so the difference between this build and like the Glad Shield builds is you're going to get mana sustain early instead of health sustain, and you're going to be able to abuse a lot of move speed as opposed to just trading really well and sustaining up a lot with a lot of poke. So recognizing how your build actually works is very important to using it correctly. So the first item you're going to get is Breastplate of Regrowth. Big movement speed, good chunk of Fizz Prots, a lot of mana, no health sustain, and no health. So you do have to be a little bit careful. But once again, we are abusing movement speed with this build. We aren't looking to get in there and really like tussle a lot. We're looking to get in there, like sneak somebody into our little Earthbreaker combo, into our driving strike, or sneak somebody with our tier combo, be really fast and get behind them and push them into the squad, you know? We're not doing like the thing that a mystical male character is going to do where they just really get in there and really mess up a fight. So to abuse that movement speed, we're going to slap a wing blade straight on after if they have like any types of slows. And so that's going to give the health that we're missing. It's going to give a little bit of magic prot. But the main magical defense for you in this build actually is just going to be moving faster than the magical characters could keep up with. God, dude, my throat is actually so dry. This is terrible. So, yeah, the wing blade and the breastplate of regrowth build is your ideal combo for outmaneuvering. And then after that, it's kind of just recovering all the stats that you don't have. So you don't have like a ton of protections, and you don't have like a ton of health, and you don't have like a ton of CDR. So the items you're going to choose from to finish this build are things like Pridwin to get a whole bunch of CDR. No health on that. Not a lot of prots though. You have to be careful with it. So you got Pridwin, you got Glad Shield if you're looking for a little bit more ability damage. Probably less prioritization on like Hercules and more so on Tyr, because Tyr has a lot more abilities, so we can make use of that Glad Shield more. You've got that Void Shield to do a similar thing to add more damage, so this would be more of a Hercules option. But if you do want more cooldown, the Pridwin is a route you do want to consider. In addition to Spirit Robe, Mantle, Genji's. Of course, this is all going to depend on what you're against. So if I'm against a magical focused comp, maybe I'm considering Genji's more. If I'm against Guardian, Hunter, and a warrior. God, dude, this is so bad. Sorry. You would go probably like a Void Shield or a Midgardian Male. And just really focus on getting that physical defense. But, like I said, it's all up to you. Situationally dependent. Archdruid Fury is really nice if you're looking to store up a big punch. To blast carry in the back line. Same kind of thing with Titan's Bane. You could get Talisman of Energy if you want to move a lot faster as well. And just stack up all the movement speed possible. So like a really nice, probably pretty consistent build would look something like this. Where you got a good amount of Phys D, good amount of Magic D. We got 2 items that have all prots, and then we got a lot more mobility from the Wing Blade. Of course, you'd finish the Warrior's Axe into a Sundering Axe. And boom. Really nice build. But any of these items are really good to fluctuate depending on your needs. And like I said, it's all up to you on what you end up going. Relic choice wise, Blink is probably going to be your biggest priority, because once again, this is a movement speed abuse build. You're looking to outmaneuver and take as few hits as possible while displacing as much as possible and putting people in positions where you can kill them. So Blink is going to be really, really good for that. Purification Beads is going to follow up as well to protect yourself, because you're not building like a whole ton of prots. Like, you're not like excessively tanky with this. You're not like that Thebes Achilles type of thing where you can take a lot of hits. So you can take hits, but you can't take as many as others. So the beads will be nice, because a lot of the time people are going to try and slow you down with hard CCs, cripples, etc., etc. So beads is going to be something that you might need to lean into. Other options are Heavenly Wings, you got Horrific, and you've got Sunring Spear is a really big one. Or if you're just placing like multiple targets with your tier or hurt combos, you can blast them with a Sunder after. And so late game, if you pick up like both of their tanks, for example, then you hit them with a Sunder, can be real nice for the follow-up there. And yeah, I think that's everything. The only last one would probably be Meditation. Probably more useful if you're playing the tier. Let's say you go like Blink and Meditation, Blink Beads. It's usually Blink plus one of these is what you're looking to go with this kind of like movement speed abuser build. And just, yeah, that's how you play it. Outmaneuver, push them around, set up for the squad. The main thing that this role or this build isn't doing in comparison to the other warrior builds is it's not killing, probably. Like, you're probably not going to solo anyone with this build. Like, if they give you long enough duration with somebody, maybe you can kill them. but chances are you're not going to be soloing people. Like, you're kind of just that guy that blinks in, Herc pushes the backliner, throws a rock, and then runs away. And then you, like, return to the frontliners, you blast them with sunders after pushing them into walls and stuff. So it's just like a different take on the warrior playstyle, and that's what makes these characters so fun, at least to me, is that you can build so many different ways depending on what you pick and how you pick and what you're against, and just really make a lot of fun things happen, make a lot of cool plays, and they're very, very flexible in how you can approach them. So, yeah. The only other build we've got for you here now, we actually got two builds. I've got this one build that I've been cooking on specifically for Wukong, and I've got a Guardian Horus build. We'll start with the Horus build, because I'm saving this Wukong one for last. Alright, so the Horus build, this character is different from pretty much every other warrior in the class, because his most optimal playstyle is actually a Guardian playstyle. Like, Horus is a support. Let's put it out there, guys. That's the only role he plays at the best. Like, none of the other warriors do this role. He's the only one. And so I made a build specifically for Horus here for you guys. He's going to be a Thebes warrior, kind of like the Achilles, but unlike the Achilles build that I showed with the whole Thebes warrior thing, the items that you're going to follow up with are going to be very support oriented. So you're going to roll out the base similarly to the Thebes Achilles build, because, you know, it's a Thebes build. You're going to get Thebes just like any like Guardian would. Get as many tanky stats as possible. You get the Warrior's Axe, you get the 2-2 health multi-pot split, because Horus is more of a, he's a good healer, but his mana isn't great. So that blue buff is going to help from the AoE mana sustain. But you probably are going to run out of mana if you're going through some abilities here. It is up to you, though. You could probably do a 3-1 split if you're being very conservative with your mana. 2-2 is definitely safer, because you've got a nice built-in heal to sustain your HP without having to use health pots. But it is up to you, like I said. So you can go Warrior's Axe, Glowing Emerald, and you turn that into a Thebes eventually. Grab the Chalice whenever you're comfortable. Chalice of Healing, of course. And then after that, you're just building items that are going to help your team. The order that you build them in is pretty up to you. It just depends on what you're against, just like all these other builds. So a really solid first item to go after you get the Thebes is one of these three. Honestly, one of these four. Let me switch these real quick. Let's send about in here, and we'll put Spirit Rope down here, because all four of these items are super, super duper good to get depending on what you're against. If you're running a Fizz-focused comp, Void Shield is probably what you want. If you're running against a magical-focused comp, and you want to be tankier while also helping your team through auras, Talisman is what you want. If you just want to deal as much damage to enemies and make them as killable for your team as possible, Runeforged is what you want. And if you want to do the same thing but be a little bit tankier while you're doing it, Binding is what you want. So you can choose any of these four, and depending on the situation, one could be much better than the other. But building them all is not bad. The problem is you have no cooldown. So you probably aren't going to build them all. So you're going to have to mix and match depending on how the game is going, what the comps are looking like. Just it's up to you. It really is. So the safest one you could probably go is probably Stone of Binding, since it gives prots of both. And then you could go into like a cooldown item. We got Breastplate down here. We got Mantle down here. Spirit Robe down here for you guys. Depending on what you're against. Either Breastplate Glyph is really solid, but Breastplate of Vigilance is going to be nicest for your team. Though the other one is very solid. The movement speed is very impactful. Those extra prots from that Breastplate of Determination will add up for yourself. You've got Wingblade down here for the anti-slows. Relic Dagger if you just want to be like a, what's the item? Bracer spammer, or a Sunder spammer, or a Blink spammer. Relic Dagger is very impactful, and I would recommend always getting the Eldritch Dagger. Bewitched Dagger, the one that slows attack speed, is not the greatest, because if you didn't know, if people overcap attack speed, Bewitched Dagger, let's say someone's at 2.5 attack speed and they build like Odysseus Bow after their 2.5 attack speed. So how the system works is actually takes into account that 30% from the Odysseus bow that they have over that 2.5 cap. And when you build Bewitched Dagger, it just takes 25% attack speed from their like over capped amount. So if somebody's already capped and they're like way over capped, like they've got like 50% attack speed over 2.5, you build Bewitched Dagger, that guy is still going to have 2.5 attack speed. Depressing, I know, but that's how it works. So the only thing you're really counteracting is if somebody builds like Silver Branch and they're overcapped, or if somebody's playing like Uller or Chiron and they're going a build that only has like 1.8 attack speed, let's say, then your Bewitched Dagger might actually feel good. But there are other items you can build to do a similar thing. Like Midgardian Mail would be your priority one. Luckily, Horrific doesn't take away attack speed for our attack speed users. But yeah, if you want to reduce attack speed, Midgardian Mail is what you want. Eldritch Dagger is what you want if you're going Relic Dagger. And I would only really advise going Relic Dagger in general if you're going for a Bracer build, because that's how you can abuse the Eldritch Dagger passive the best. You could go like Bracer with Blink, Bracer with Med, Bracer with Sprint, Horrific. There are a lot of relics that work really well, but Bracer is the main one if you're going to go Relic Dagger at all. And then other than that, we've got the Pestilence here if you've got going against a lot of healing, like you're against an Aphrodite, a Hel, an E-Shell. Pestilence can make a big difference. You're going against somebody that you know is going to go crit. Spectral right after Thebes actually is a pretty solid strat. Gives you a lot of stats that you're looking for. Health, mana, MP5. Like, Spectral is actually really, really, really good. A lot of stats on this guy. Look at this thing, dude. Anti-crit item that gives Fizzprot, health, mana, and MP5. So pretty much like every stat that you want, besides cooldown. Like, it's almost an ideal item to grab if you know they're going crit. Like, if they picked a Jingwei, then Spectral Armor is looking pretty good. They picked a Mercury, and he's not going tank, yeah, Spectral Armor looking pretty good. So, yeah, you just got to mix and match depending on how you're feeling in the game. And all these items are going to bring a lot of value depending on what the situations are. Situations are always changing. So the biggest thing is you're just balancing as many protections as you can get with as many team buffs as you can get and making sure that you can get as much cooldown as possible without like griefing yourself and going like this and just having like immense cooldown, but your team fight isn't offering very much to your squad, because this is a guardian character that's in the warrior class and you are trying to make your teammates do as much as possible. So up to you how you build, and here are a lot of items and how to do it. It's up to you how you finish it off. All these are good. And you can mix and match as you wish. And the last character we got here to finish off the warrior class we're building is Sun Wukong. This build is one I've been working on recently. Been doing a whole lot of testing. Here it is. This is a Runeforged build, but Sun Wukong is kind of the only character in the warrior class that can actually use this build. There are 2 characters in the entire game that actually use this build, like, ideally. A lot of characters that can use this, but from all the testing I've done, all the characters I've tried, Sun Wukong and Thor are the 2 characters that use this build the best, because it's going to rely on a lot of cooldown, do a lot of poke damage, but isn't going to have, like, the most protections of any build. So you need like a safe character that has long range abilities with good poke. And Sun Wukong and Thor are kind of like the only 2 characters that actually fit that bill. So here's what the build looks like. You start off with Warrior's Axe, Tier 1 Runeforged Hammer, and 2 of each potion. Wukong and Thor are both characters that struggle a bit in the mana department. So you are going to look for a little bit extra mana sustain through those multi-pots and less health pots. You're going to grab a chalice whenever you're comfortable. First item you finish is Runeforged. And this is a very linear build. No, I get to choose if I'm going this item or this item. You know, you're pretty much always going Glad Shield, Pridwin that upgrades into Blue Pridwin whenever you're feeling like you want it. And then the only things that kind of fluctuates are the order you want to buy the next 2 items in. You got Mantle to choose from because it does finish off your CD and provides you a lot of safety, additional safety. Mantle is especially nice on characters where you're not building as many protections. Pridwin is a low protection item, Glad Shield only Fizz, and Runeforged has no protections. So you are a little bit squishier than your normal frontline tank character would be. So Mantle does help out a lot with saving you when you get into tight spots. But Archdruid Fury is really good for killing people. Especially on Thor and Wukong where you're absorbing a lot of hits before you like really go in and auto attack. Like you can store up a nice Archdruid's Fury proc, and Archdruid's Fury damage will scale up with your Runeforged hammer that you eventually turn into Flameforged hammer. And it'll make your Archdruid hit for 300 plus damage at maximum stacks. So you can really explode a backliner with a build like this if they put themselves in an awkward scenario. So the full build is going to look something like this. If you really want a power item, you can trade out Archdruid's Fury would be the normal choice for Titan's Bane. Heartseeker would work, but it would be slightly worse. You could go like Erendite and drop the Mantle and go Archdruid if you wanted to. But for the most part, you're going to want to stay in this lane of, like Quiz Karma just said, the yellow numbers build path here. And you're just going to kill people with proc items. And it's going to be sick. You're going to turn this Warrior's Axe into Sundering Axe. And just have a whole lot of yellow damage. You're going to go usually either Blink Beads or Sunder Beads, but pretty much always Beads. Because, once again, harping on the same thing over and over here, you are not super tanky with this build. You just deal a lot of damage through defense items. And you are very survivable through the nature of not only the build, but also the character that you're picking this on, which is Sun Wukong or Thor. So on Thor, I pretty much always go Sunder because he's not exactly the greatest Blink God. Sun Wukong is pretty much almost always a Blink God. But you can go Sunder depending on how you want to operate in the team fight. The nice thing about this build is it gives your team kill potential against any target. And you personally have really good kill potential against a backliner that's building mainly damage. So if you find like an opening onto a backliner and you've got a full Archdruid's Fury proc, you just Blink Tiger them, whap them with the Archdruid Fury proc, you get Flameforged Archdruid Fury, Blink, plus your Tiger, and then maybe an auto after. They're actually going to lose over half their health from that. Like, anyone building full damage is going to take half their health from that. So you can super surprise people with his build. And you're like a full tank. And I forgot about the Sundering Axe proc too. And then you got Flameforged coming after, Glad Shield on top, and then, like, if you're Sun Wukong, you're ulting too, right? So they're already half health, they're already 40% health, and now you're up in the sky and they can't hit you, and they have to try and run away from you. So this build in the late game is actually crushing against carries. And the best part is, you can still have a lot of effectiveness against frontliners because of this item right here, Flameforged and Sundering together. So you Sundering Axe somebody while also Tiger Stunning, like, let's say the enemy Charon. You just randomly walk up to him, you slap him with a Tiger, it's a 1.5 second stun, you drop a Sunder on him, and then you got your Hunter slings like 3 to 5 autos while they're stunned, and that dude also is taking like 50 to 60% of his health and he's running. And they can't turn on you because you're a Wukong. A Wukong with beads and ult. So, like, what are they gonna do? So, this character is incredibly, incredibly good with his build. A ton of sustain with the Sundering Axe Flameforged Glad Shield. I believe I was at like 70 HP 5 with this build. Flameforged or Runeforged and Glad together. Flameforged or Runeforged rather also gives MP 5. So you're kind of chilling on that respect. That in combination with your Warrior's Axe procs, very nice for keeping those stats up. So just a super survivable, super hybrid, but also tank, but also damage, like so many things. It's very similar to the auto attack warrior build in that, but it's like slightly differentiated because the auto attack warriors are very good at killing the tanks. They can kill the backliners, but it's hard for them to get there. This Wukong build, very good at killing the backliners, pretty easy for him to get there with Blink, and harder for him to kill the tanks, but really easy for him to set up so that you can kill the tanks. So two very different styles of play that operate similarly, but inversely at the same time. And I really like it. The only thing is Wukong is like the only character that can do it in the warrior class. And then Thor's the other character that does it. So yeah, this build is very dangerous and you got to keep an eye on it. And I'd recommend trying it out yourself. Nice time to pick up these glyphs is probably the only thing I haven't talked about. I like picking up the Flameforged around when I get level 12. And I'll upgrade my relic that I get at level 12 like as soon as I get it. Or just whenever you have the gold, really. Like, whenever it's comfortable for you to upgrade your relic to T2, that second relic that you buy. So, like, usually you're starting, like, beads, and then you're going either Sunder or Blink second. Sometimes you can go Blink first, depending on what you're against. And once you get that second relic upgraded to T2 for 300, then you're looking to get your Flameforged Hammer. Because then, if you, like, Ox somebody or Tiger stun somebody, they take a lot of damage from that Flameforged Hammer. Well, not a lot of damage, but they take a lot of sustained damage from the Flameforged Hammer. It's almost like you have a bluestone, and it can stack up your relic and save you 500 gold real nicely. So you're investing 300 in one of your relics. You're letting that first relic you bought, usually the beads, upgrade on its own for the first 300, and then you get a Flameforged to upgrade your T2 relics to T3 relics a lot easier. And then you save 1,000 gold there by spending 300 to get the T1 to T2 and 600 on the Flameforged. So you spend 900 to save 1,000, but you are going to spend that 600 on the Flameforged eventually anyway. So it's more like you're spending 300 to save 1,000. Feels real good. Yeah, Wukong's OP. The only other thing is buying this thing, and this goes for honestly all the builds. Buying a Potion of Power at literally any point where you're kind of feeling like, okay, we have the pressure here, or we really need to defend this tower here that they just got Bull Demon on, and our fight is looking pretty even. I've got 500 gold in pocket when I back. Let's buy a red pot so that we can maybe swing the fight in our favor. Finding places where you can build this Potion of Power in literally any build for the warriors is incredible, because these guys scale really well. And with the change they made to Potion of Power, giving a 10 pen as well as the power, this is an incredibly strong tool to either super buff your aggression or super buff your defensive position, where it's like, oh god, guys, we just are not dealing enough damage. We need something. But I can't just suddenly come back to base with 2,000 gold over the next 30 seconds. So like this is kind of like your way to fight back in from deficit, or a way to make sure that your fight goes as perfectly as possible from ahead. So yeah, Potion of Power, very strong. Utilize it. And with that, we've covered all the warrior builds. We went through the Thebes build, which we went over most of these warriors can use, but the ones that excel at it are probably Achilles, Chaac, Gilgamesh, Guan Yu can do this, Hercules, Horus has his variation of the Thieves build with the whole Guardian thing, Arthur can do it, like almost all these guys can do it, but some of these guys will do better with the different build, such as the auto attackers, like Amma is going to use that auto attack build that we showed on Erlang. Bellona is going to use it really well. Gilgamesh can use the auto attacker build very well, though I prefer more of an ability based build on him. Other auto attackers, Osiris can do auto attacker, or he can do ability. He can do Thebes. Osiris is really malleable. You can do a lot of different builds on him, and it'll feel good. And Vamana can do that auto attacker build. But on Vamana, you'd want to consider getting Hasten Katana somewhere in there, because he's just very good with the chase down, but sometimes struggles in actually like sticking to them. So with Vamana, you want to be a little bit more team oriented and have like somebody build you like a Shogun's or a Talisman, and you build the other one, and then somebody get you like a Bracer so that you can go like Blink and Beads or Blink and Thorns. Blink and Thorns is a classic Vamana combo. So Vamana is a trickier one, but you can definitely make him work. Then there's the Mystical Warriors, which again, most of the warriors can use, but some of them are better with other builds. But the ones that utilize the mystical build the best are probably like Chulainn, Achilles, excuse me, Guan Yu, Nike, Odin, and yep, that's all of them. And then we've got we went over the Guardian build, which is just Horus, that kind of new spicy build on Wukong, and the movement speed build, where it's just like super abuse of regrowth Wingblade that Guan Yu and Tyr are mainly going to use, but you can also do on Guan Yu and Horus, kind of. But mainly Guan, or Herc and Tyr are going to use that. So, yeah. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, learned a little bit here and there about warriors, got a little bit more insight into how to build them, and how I view all the warriors today and how they operate. Yeah, hope you guys enjoyed that one. Don't forget to leave a like on the video if you did. And let me know what you think about these videos or about these builds. Like, did I miss anything? Do you guys like it a lot? Is this helping you? Do you think it was good to do this the way I did, or should I just be doing like a top 5 gods and or warriors in Joust and how to build them type of thing? Like, that was something I struggled with. And yeah, we did what we did. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed, and if you like the content. And I'll catch you guys in the next one.